It's going to be good now. You're going to get it.
Okay, so yeah, I think you guys are getting it now. Let's see. Yes, we're live. So I'm going to give you a quick sound check. No, I did not.
Everybody heard it.
Yeah, everybody heard it. You're live, definitely the sound. Did you want to try the video again, or?
Yeah, I'll play the.
There's clear sky and an object materializes, they're here. They have been waiting for an appropriate response for decades, and they have not received one until now. We're doing the protocol. It lifts straight up, right here, goes up, turns left, partially going in and out of space-time and vanishes. All of their technologies are wired into consciousness and thought. Consciousness is a cosmic internet, and that's what we're doing. First, the expansion of consciousness in meditation. You can then see them, and then you can communicate with them. I had one fully materialized flesh and blood who have appeared and then vanished. And I see this being come in. You see that the empowerment of everyone in the audience to become an ambassador to those civilizations. Welcome to my world. So here's how society has answered the call so far.
We're going to have the Space Force. They're like goddamn right, Space Force.
If millions of people start doing this, an army of consciousness doing this, it'll overwhelm the covert systems. This is how disclosure will happen. It's time for the people to find the solution, and here it is, mass contact through consciousness. Citizens Diplomacy CE5. This is the ultimate disclosure event. Be part of history, be part of the change. It's a call to action.
Are you guys ready?
It's only 6:38. So
Oh, okay. We have. You want to wait a few minutes?
disaster. The whole post-production crowd, when they saw the way they were...
I'm Ron James. We are here at the Scottsdale Center for the Performing Arts for the theatrical premiere of Dr. Steven Greer's Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, CE5. This has been a long time coming. We're playing it safe during the pandemic, but we're ready to see the film, and we're ready to do a little red carpet set and interview some of the people that were involved in it. So without further ado, I would like to invite Dr. Steven Greer. Come on up, let's talk a little bit.
Good.
Dr. Greer, congratulations on the film. This is our third time. It's your third film, third major film.
Yes.
We had 𝗖𝗍, we had Unacknowledged, and now we have CE5.
Right.
Last night, I actually spent some time reviewing the film again, and I really have to compliment you because I feel as though we have pretty much proven the existence of a non-human race interacting with the human race.
Right.
And now the question is, what's next?
Yeah.
And this is the film that points us in a really good direction.
Yes, and that's why we did it, because the people who I've worked with for 30 years on the CE5 team, a lot of them are here. I mean, there are people here who have been doing this for 29 years with me. We know that these civilizations are peaceful. We know that they want to have a relationship with humans. They're desperate for us to stop putting this into a militarized, violent paradigm. So the whole CE5 initiative is about making contact peacefully with these civilizations and actually modeling that for governments. And a lot of people don't know, a few years ago, we alluded to this briefly in the film. The president of France at the time, President Sarkozy, had his Ministry of Defense contact me, and we did a training exercise in France with Admiral Moran there, and they're learning how to do this. And they totally understood the fact that these civilizations use the science of consciousness and higher states of consciousness interfacing with electronic systems to communicate. So, of course, that's what I sort of stumbled upon or experienced when I was 18, that I allude to in the film. But that now has become a model for more enlightened people who aren't living through a paradigm of hate and fear and division. The big task is getting enough people to do it. In the film, we talk about the 1% effect, where if you get 1% of the people in a higher state of consciousness in meditation doing something positive, it shifts the other 99%. And this is quantum physics. It's very well established science. And so 1% of America is around 3 million. 1% of the world's around 75 million. And that's why it's so important that we do it. And by the way, I just want to say, Demi Lovato says hello to everyone. She's in California. She couldn't leave, but she was planning to be here. But she's very dedicated. As you saw last month, we were in Joshua Tree, and we did a global meditation, just briefly. And you know, she on her Instagram account has 95 million people. So, you know, theoretically, if we can get enough people who are aware of this and they network it to other people and other influencers, I think what can happen is that we can see the whole consciousness of the planet shift. Not just the people who know about this, people don't even know about it.
Right.
Right? So that's really what's exciting, is that we've reached the point now with enough people learning about this that we could get to that 1%, what's called phase transition effect, where suddenly the whole planet turns towards a path of peace instead of destruction. And to me, that's what it's about. That's what these ETs are waiting for.
What's really interesting is that the things that humanity has to do to collectively correct its course are just common sense things that have been taught by sages and spiritual teachings forever. And it's almost like now we have an extraterrestrial reinforcement of what we know. And it really boils down to humanity needs to find its better angels and get with the program and stop all of this stuff. And if we can do that, we're going to find our way into this galactic family that the sky's the limit, literally.
Yeah, and that's what they're waiting on.
Yes.
Everyone says, why don't they do this? Why don't they do that? I said, it's the wrong question. Why don't we, all of us, form teams that are ambassadors making contact with these civilizations? That's what they're waiting on. And they're waiting for a critical mass of humanity to do that. In light of the fact that the governments have completely mucked this up for 70 years, since the 40s, then it's incumbent on we, the people, to do it. And if we do it, guess what? I've always said, if the people will lead, the leaders will follow.
It really comes down to the individual, just like it always has.
It does. And teams of individuals.
Yeah.
So here's an interesting thing about the power of consciousness. You know, when they've done studies with random number generators, they've quantum random numbers, they found that one person, you know, just, you don't have to be trained as a CIA remote viewer, just a person off the street here was put in a lab, they put their awareness on the random number generator, it will shift. If they're intending it to shift and put out more ones than zeros, it will, most of the time. But if you have two people who love each other, who are coherent with each other, who are bonded, what's interesting is that it's an exponential increase in effect. Now what is going on there? And this is the heart math people and others have talked about the resonance between consciousness and the heart. And it turns out the heart literally has tens of thousands of neurons. And so the resonance factor, where you add I mean, it sounds mushy, but it isn't. The love factor, the peaceful factor, the sense of oneness factor, as well as consciousness itself. When those two things sync up, it's an exponentially greater effect.
Which is another interesting point about the movie. You know, I've interviewed Adam, and I've interviewed Russell Targ, and I've interviewed Dr. Edgar Mitchell, and almost everybody else in the film I've sat with at one time or another. And what we're discovering about physics, the nature of reality, how all this stuff works, is tying in to our contact with these beings. And so all of this stuff, all of this knowledge and things that were far apart and esoterically separated at one point are fusing together into the next step in humanity's journey.
That's right. You know, if you look at the little teeny logo we have here, that triangle, as you all know, it happened from a crop circle in 1992. We were doing a 𝗖𝗘𝗍 expedition. I was up at 𝗦𝗏𝗰𝗏𝗃 Hill, and that one night we went up there with about 12 people, and I said, you know what if once we get up there, we'll decide on a shape and ask the ETs to create that in a crop circle. You know, even though probably 80% of them now are hoaxed.
Sure.
But the ones that were real. This was this is 28 years ago. And so we went up there and we did the 𝗖𝗘𝗍 contact meditation. And then when we were in deep consciousness, we all sent out this shape. The equilateral triangle, 3 circles. And within a few hours, within line sight of where we were, that appeared in a field. A farmer found it in the wee hours as the sun was coming up, which is like 5 in the morning and that far north in July in England. And what was interesting is that it was this amazing acknowledgement that if you guys build it and we will come, all right? It's
yes.
So if humans make the effort at all, instead of being passive, and make contact, there are all kinds of wondrous and mysterious ways that these really advanced civilizations will say, yes, we hear you, we're going to do it. And I think part of that is because any civilization that goes beyond the speed of light, they are transdimensional, which means they are moving and understand the more conscious realms of the other dimensions, which include consciousness, what the mystics call the astral body, the thought body, the body of light. All those are, even though it's been relegated to mysticism and debunked, that's actually the science of the next 1,000 years. What people don't realize, we're getting a glimpse into the next thousands of years of science on Earth, because 0-point energy, free energy, anti-gravity, that was all done and established by October 1954, a year before I was born, and I'm no spring chicken. I just turned 65 in June. So the reality is that just has to be disclosed, and that has to happen.
Yeah.
Okay, because otherwise we're just going to destroy the biosphere. But the real task is in the level of consciousness, because that is, if we get that right, and we get the peaceful awareness and working together, lovingly, peacefully together, the rest of it will come. It will absolutely come.
And anybody that wants to really can get involved in the 𝗖𝗘𝗍, and they can have their own experiences.
Right.
And for people who watch this film and maybe you're not sure that what you're seeing can apply to you, it really can.
Yep.
You can join one of these groups and you can go out and you can actually make these things happen And once you've had that experience, it changes you from the inside out. Once it happens to you, there's really no going back and questioning yourself. It happened and you were there.
Yeah, and there are hundreds of thousands of people around the world doing this now. It needs to be a few tens of millions. So that's what this documentary is about. That's what the premiere is about. It's getting the word out. Because now it's on Amazon Prime. So anyone who has Amazon Prime in the world, with a couple 100 million people, can see both Unacknowledged and Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. It just came out on Amazon Prime. And just so people get a little glimpse of this, we're working to get it out on YouTube Movies soon, and Pluto and Tubi and these other sites. So if you don't have a Prime subscription, get that. And I'm open to the public, if they know of large platforms that could host this in places like India, China, other places, they should contact us and see if we can get it out there. Because this film, I should have said this before I opened my mouth about anything else. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All these people, a lot of the people here funded this film. We have never had corporate ownership. We've raised $905,000 for this documentary and for the campaign to get the information out from donors. And they've ranged from $1 to a little over $100,000.
And that's how you actually funded Sirius and
all of them. All these documentaries.
Yes.
Nobody owns it.
Yes.
So nobody can tell us, put that in, take that out. So that's why, the people funded this, the people own it, and that's why we want to get it out to as many people as possible. Now, one thing I'll just say, a few $100,000 is not much of a amount to do a feature film and an ad campaign or marketing or getting the word out. But it can happen in light of the fact that we don't have millions of dollars to put into what most people do to get the word out on something. It can be done by person to person this way, through the internet, through social media influencers and people like Demi Lovato. And I just had a text from Logan Paul, break a leg, great bro, all kinds of people are interested in this. Steven Tyler of Aerosmith. And people say, why would you even care about people who are like, so I said, because I'm just a doctor trying to do this, retired from emergency medicine. Those people have followings that are in the millions, tens of millions. That's how we get the word out. So everyone needs to help us network that, because honestly, the crowdfunding, the movie itself, getting the word out, and I just want to say, the distributor that's distributing it pays $0 for marketing or getting the word out or social media, nothing. We have to provide that. So I want people to understand, this is not some grand multi-million-dollar corporation doing it. This is just us, everyone standing here who have contributed. And I want to thank all of you for doing that.
What you did with your initial crowdfunding for Sirius and how big you grew now into the third film, the deals you got with like Netflix, these were groundbreaking deals for nonfiction films. Congratulations as an aside just on that. And what you've done with this film, you found good distribution and it's really getting out there. It's got huge numbers of reviews on Amazon, and you can usually tell how a film's doing just by the number of reviews, because it's a very small percentage of views. And so people are watching this film.
Yes, and, yes, it's actually had more. It's had more reviews on Amazon than most $100 to $200 million Hollywood films get.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So what I'm saying is that, but this is with really no marketing budget, no big corporate, and we're not part of Universal Studios. So, but that's the power of the people. This is what I keep saying. It's the power of the people. And I think that also the strength of the message. When you look at the film, you see there are people from every walk of life all over the world who are in the movie saying, I have a team doing this and here's what's happened. And the thing that makes me happiest, honest to God, is when people, do the CE5 protocols. They go out with a pure heart and a sincere intent. They have these amazing contact experiences, and I'm not there. I only find out about it. I almost never find out about it because it's very hard.
It's a lot to keep up with.
It's a lot to keep up with. And we don't. And the other thing, we don't have an office or staff. So my wife, I want to thank Emily for the. She'll be 72 next month. We've been doing this 30 years.
She's been great to work with too.
Yeah, but we've never had paid staff or office. And a lot of people are shocked. I said, no, we don't. Whatever we get, we put it out. We create something, put it out, keep moving. But the reason we've gotten this far is how wonderful people are, who understand the purpose, the message, and help.
Well, you know, the other thing is you've been delivering the goods. There's a lot of people out there making these films. There's a lot of just wild stuff out there.
I know.
But from serious through unacknowledged to this, it's always these are facts. You can verify it, and we're really laying something out that's real, and it's not pie in the sky, and it's not too crazy to absorb.
Right.
And so, you know, that's another reason why your films just keep getting exponentially more viewers and fans.
And by the way, this documentary, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, is the #1 crowdfunded documentary in history, ever, in any genre, and that's Close to the People. You know, and so that's,
I think Sirius set that same record.
It was the same record,
Yes.
and then another one over some Star Trek documentary somehow to over. But now this is #1, and so what that means is, and we didn't have any budget. We just kind of put the word out through our email list and social media, and people came up and helped, and that is how we keep going forward. Eventually, my hope is that we can do that with a new energy research lab that's open source. The next big thing is, you know, we've done Disclosure Project, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, but the third part of that triangle, this is why we visualized it, to connect some dots for folks, is that the third part of it is the science and technology part of it, that needs to come out if we're going to have a sustainable civilization, eliminate poverty, fix the biosphere, correct the environmental degradation, and have a civilization worthy of being spacefaring. You're not going to do that with nuclear power plants and coal-fired and no offense to Elon Musk, battery-driven cars. You have to plug into a grid that's running off of coal or gas, which is 90% of it. So we have to come out with these technologies that have been illegally sequestered, and bring it out, but it has to be done open source. You're never going to do this with intellectual property. You're never going to do it through the patent office. It will absolutely be killed.
Well, no, because they'll take the same thing and they'll put it in a box and make money off of it.
Well,
it won't change society the way this can change
This situation is so dangerous that if the lab working on it isn't live streamed on the internet, the people working on it are dead men walking. And I speak from personal knowledge of this. So that's the next thing we've got to do. So people say, you can't do everything. I said, well, we've got to learn to walk and chew gum. We've got to make peaceful contact. But if we have peaceful contact with these civilizations, but we destroy the biosphere, that's not good. If we fix the environment, but we go to DEFCON 1 and have an interplanetary conflict, because that's what the warmongers and sociopaths want, that's no good. So we've got to kind of get, you know, heaven and earth together here. You know, I mean, it's really critical, and I don't want to go into too much about that, and that's negative, but you know, you can't kick the can down the road forever.
Well, you know, one thing that I noticed is there's a lot of sections in the film that talk about controlling the narrative. And there's another narrative that this ET presence is some sort of a threat. And I know Louis Elizondo and I know Chris Mellon, and I have actually seen a trend, even on their part, to kind of move away from this threat thing. They've been doing it on their Twitters. They've been doing it in
well, that's
public discussions.
Because we expose what fraud that is.
Yeah.
That, you know, the dangerous part of it, corollaries to that, have been going into the White House and on Capitol Hill, saying the same thing.
So hopefully these guys will quit sounding the trumpet of alarm and start getting a little bit more on the page of this does not have to be a bad, dangerous thing.
You know, look, one thing I say to people, because you cannot prove a negative, if somebody is addicted to, you know, look, we're a tribal society that we love to have someone to hate. So, you know, the demagogues always exploit black versus white, gay versus straight, rich versus poor, communist versus capitalist, this versus that, da 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 da. So the differences amongst humanity, which are incredibly beautiful actually, can always be exploited by some sociopath. And that's what most of history proves, whether it's a religious sociopath, a political sociopath, some power-hungry nut job. But we can rise above that. We don't have to be brainwashed into that. And you know, when I was sitting with Demi Lovato, the first time I met her back some months ago, and
she became a very enthusiastic fan.
Oh, she loves what we're doing. Yeah, she's very sweet about it, very sincere. And I said, you know, what's the color of consciousness? What's the color of mind? What's the color of the essence of the human spirit? Has no color, has no creed, has no ethnicity. It has no actual religion per se. It's transcendent. So we're going to have to find, and people say, well, it's our shared humanity. I said that would have been interesting in 1900. In 2020, we have civilizations from elsewhere concerned about us weaponizing space, all right, and doing other things that are really dangerous, like atomic bombs and hydrogen bombs. We'll get into that some other time. So those civilizations, what is their ethnic, genetic connection to us? Well, there could be some, but they're going to be very different. They're going to be more different than someone from Japan versus the Congo, all right? So we're going to have to go beyond this divisive consciousness into this state of unity consciousness and oneness. And the only way to do that is understand the light of consciousness that's within every single person. And as Erwin Schrödinger, the physicist, said, the total number of minds in the universe is one. It's a singularity. So I think that is one of the really big messages of the film. That's how we can go beyond the cacophony of divisiveness. And instead of, you know, our differences being things we fight over, they should be things that are beautiful, like the varieties of a garden, all the different flowers and colors. But we have this, the sap running in us, the essence running within us is a singularity. And so when we realize that, then we can go beyond all the temptations of division and hatred that the demagogues always try to exploit.
Well, you know, one thing about coming together in that way that people can't really seem to bridge is that it's okay to acknowledge differences, and they are things to be celebrated, not as a basis of fear or superiority. And so I think that humanity's got a ways to go before they can cross that boundary and reach that understanding collectively. But it's what we have to do.
Well, actually, most people are there. It's just the people who want to. I love that En Vogue song, "Free Your Mind." You know, it's like you gotta free your mind of all the crap that's being force-fed to you on the internet, in the media. I'm going to start partying early here. No, I won't. Free your mind. So you've got to get your mind freed from that. It's sort of a, you know, it's sort of a mind thing.
Yes.
And I think we can do that. But the meditative state is really important, because when people go into quiet, deep meditation, they can experience a state of awareness that is the singularity. It's the oneness that we all are, whether you're human or from the Andromeda galaxy. And speaking of which, we can in a moment have the wonderful woman who, dear friend for a quarter of a century, who took that photo is here.
Okay,
of
cool.
the ET from the Andromeda galaxy.
That was a pretty interesting photo. There's a lot of visual evidence in this film that's really hard to not acknowledge and notice. Which is another milestone in the film.
Well, good.
It delivers the goods. So I'll tell you what, I know that you've got some people that were a part of the film that are going to come up and talk to you. I will step off. We're going to roll the trailer for just a second.
Okay.
Just to do a quick reset. So kill my audio and roll the trailer, please.
Thank you. Thanks for your help.
Thank you, Dr. Greer.
Hey, Raven, you want to come up?
Now you'll talk to Dr. Greer through the mic and don't touch it.
Probably have to be close enough to it.
We'll bring you back.
Is it too? Here. There's clear sky and an object materializes. They're here. They have been waiting for an appropriate response for decades, and they have not received one until now. We're doing the protocol. It lifts straight up right here, goes up, turns left. Partially going in and out of space-time and vanishes. I can't see everyone out there. How is everyone doing?
Are wired.
Everyone here coming into the premiere? Yeah.
Consciousness is a cosmic internet. That's what we're doing. First, the expansion of consciousness in meditation. You can then see them, and then you can.
We have to be 6 feet away. I had one fully materialized flesh and blood who have appeared and vanished. Right here? And I see this right there. Okay. You see that the empowerment of everyone in the audience to become an ambassador to those civilizations. Welcome to my world. So here's how society has answered the call so far.
We're going to have the Space Force.
They're like goddamn right, Space Force.
if millions of people start doing this. An army of consciousness doing this, it'll overwhelm the covert systems. This is how disclosure will happen. It's time for the people to find the solution, and here it is, mass contact through consciousness. Citizens Diplomacy CE5. This is the ultimate disclosure event. Be part of history, be part of the change. It's a call to action. Who's just joining us, welcome them to the premiere for Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. And I want to introduce one of my closest friends in the world, 𝗍𝗿𝗍𝗍𝗍, who has been on our team since when? 1990?
98.
98. So 22 years. And Raven is someone who is not only deeply intuitive and spiritual, but just an amazing, solid person that I trust with everything. But that kind of love and bond that develops over time with our CE5 teams results in amazing experiences together. So I just, those of you will see in the movie, if you haven't seen it yet, there is a part of it where we talk about this ET that appeared a few years ago at Joshua Tree National Park. And it was late at night, and I want to set up kind of the first part of what happened, okay, and then you can talk about how you ended up getting this amazing photograph. So we were up in Joshua Tree National Park. It's where I was with Demi Lovato a few weeks ago. And we, make a circle, and we're out under the stars in the middle of 800,000 acres. Beautiful. And we took a break partway, through our process. You can't sit for 5 hours. So I had gone down this path going to the east. And so there were a couple people with me, and suddenly there was this sphere that was the size of like a grapefruit that materialized right by my right shoulder. And I looked at it, and another person next to me saw it, and I said, they're here. Because these civilizations, because they're going through other dimensions, can dematerialize and rematerialize, but they can be in a form that you can see, but it isn't a solid 3D metallic form. So I saw that and I went, all right, we need to go back and form the circle. So we go back to form the circle, and I'm calling everyone back to get in a coherence, because everyone's talking, they're on break, and you're outside. And then suddenly I hear just a few feet outside the circle, a group of 5 ETs talking. Well, not English and not any language of Earth, but you could hear them talking. And everyone heard female voices, which I heard, but I heard a male voice. Remember, I said, there's one guy in this crowd. It's like me and my family. I have 4 daughters, 3 sisters, the only male in a family of 10 women. Live to tell the tale. Anyway, so we get back, and so, I somehow I say something to you about, we need to take a photo. Who has a camera? And then what did you experience and do?
So I went back to the circle, kind of because he was telling everyone to get back. So I was one of the first people back in the circle, and there was just one person next to me. And so I just started randomly shooting photos. It was pitch black. The picture I took was only a 3-second exposure, and I was holding my breath so I wouldn't shake. And all the frames that I took were completely black, but there was one that had a bright light in it. And so by that time everyone had come back to the circle, so I just waited until the evening, and I put it in my computer, and then I realized that there was this being floating above one of the chairs, and it was like looking right at me in the photo.
And waving.
Yeah, it was like this. So Yeah, it was pretty amazing. And actually, earlier in that day, in the morning, we were actually hearing voices in our house as well. Like, we were talking quietly, and there were these extra voices whispering amongst us. So it was, the whole day had been kind of building up to this event.
Right, right. And actually, when you see the photo, the movie only shows a little bit of it, but if you look at the online on our website, you'll see more. And it's there's a sphere that's on the left that illuminates all the chairs, and then this being that's about I don't know, 4 or 5 feet tall, male, a receding hairline, and that's sort of floating like this and wait. I know. I said, oh well, I don't feel so bad. So. I got a little burned. My increasingly large forehead. I need a hat. Anyway, so that's what, when I saw the device, I said, well, that's the sphere that was right beside my shoulder.
Right.
But it had then dematerialized and followed us back to the group. Now, the part of this story that isn't in the movie, well, we might as well tell it, we have a little bit of time, is that we then have these electronic sensing devices. So when we got back in the circle, we have magnetic field meters that pick up the magnetic field shift, and they're all part of the protocol where we ask the ETs to communicate through them like they would through a Morse code or something. So suddenly they started going off. We're out in the middle of 800,000 acres. There should be nothing setting these devices off, including radar and laser detectors and all these electronics. And I said, oh, that's them. So I would ask a question, and that's how we came. They told us that this being, particular being, his name was 𝗔𝗹𝗹, from the Andromeda galaxy, that they've been following what we were doing for quite a while. And that kind of dialogue went on for, I don't know, 45 minutes or an hour.
Yeah, about an hour, I'd say.
So it was just...
It was an amazing experience, and he has come on other expeditions, too, that we had where we felt his presence and had the same dialogue through the electronic systems.
Yep. So interestingly, what you find if you do this, these craft will appear, the beings will appear, they'll be in and out of 3D. We had at that same site one year 4 ETs in the flesh that appeared, and when someone got too excited, they then dematerialized, something like out of a science fiction movie. But that is sort of thing happens quite often. But what's amazing about this is that this one, I think, here's what I think. Because of her pure-heartedness, and she asked permission to take his picture, that's why he came in and out of this dimension, allowed himself to be. So there's a certain amount, it's like when you go to Native American land. You need to respect it, you need to honor it, and you ask permission. You don't go through there like a bull in a china shop. But, Raven did that.
Yeah, I mean, there's been so many experiences over the years, but, the protocols work, and there's just so many things you just can't even begin to, talk about because they're so internal, but it's amazing, and, it's fantastic that this is becoming a global movement, really.
Yep, it's time. Open contact. And if the governments won't do it, we will.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you, Raven.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's beautiful. Hey, Justice and Pat, why don't you guys come up here? I want you to talk about... Can the person who's smoking the cigar put it out for me? Thanks.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hi.
So these guys don't have to socially, they're in my house and they're all good.
Come a little closer. Is this better? Lift it up.
So,
Okay.
so these two people, if you've seen the movie, this is 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 and Justice Campbell, and they have been on our team for a number of years, and they actually help train people in Texas, right?
We do.
Go Texas. And I wanted you guys to kind of share what your experience has been on these expeditions, just whatever comes to mind, and also what you've been doing in Texas to help get other people educated about this.
Okay. You want me to start?
Sure.
You know, people ask me about my experiences on these expeditions with you, and they'll say, "Have you had any experiences?" And I usually say to them, you know, I wouldn't even know where to begin. I wouldn't know where to begin. There's been that much. I mean, I can just kind of a little bit say I've ended up on a craft. I've ended up inside mountains. I've ended up having ETs in my room. It's been when I started this, I couldn't have imagined this. This would have sounded like really, really science fiction to me, really.
Right.
But now it is completely commonplace when I go on these things for this to happen. It happens all the time. It happens numerous times on an expedition, and that group coherency that happens when you have 25 or 30 people on a week-long event like this is just so powerful that it pulls in all kinds of energy. It's amazing. And I am forever grateful to you, seriously, forever grateful to you for these opportunities. Really, it's been really wonderful.
My pleasure. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, and Justice. Interestingly, you can share what you've been doing, but first I want to make a editorial comment. Look at the movie, those of you online, all the way to the end of the credits, because there's a really cool photograph way at the end that we had to drop in at the end because we were really at final cut on it, from exactly a year ago, and we were at Joshua Tree National Park again, and it was so cold that I do this Sanskrit ceremony of puja, and there was little water on the table in these brass containers, and it froze to a block of ice. The flowers all froze. Everything froze.
The orange froze.
The orange froze. So in one of those moments when we had to go in and get warm, he has an excellent camera, and he was taking pictures. And you look at this photo, and there are these two ETs with elongated heads sitting in two of our chairs that we had vacated.
Yeah.
And it's an astonishing, and they were there, people who were there, they were experiencing that while we were in circle, but we left, and the camera, they allowed themselves to come into 3D and be photographed, and it's an amazing photograph. So I don't know, you may want to talk about this kind of experience you've had, because he does great work with cameras. If you give me a camera, all I do is break it. I'm like 10 thumbs, except for the ventilator or chest tube or something. You know. But
well, let me just tell you, it's been a real honor to be able to go to the expeditions with you. It's been a learning experience like none other. People don't realize it's not just about being out under the stars, but it's all of the training you give during the day. It's like a doctorate in higher consciousness, and it's really wonderful. So thank you for that.
Welcome.
And that night, I remember it was, like you said, freezing cold.
Yep.
I mean, the puja water, when we dumped it, we laughed because it was a chunk of ice that fell out and hit the ground. It was that cold. And the team had gone inside to warm up. And I forgot the camera outside. It was continually shooting pictures every 20 seconds.
Right.
And the ETs sat right in the two chairs, right in front of the camera. And it turned out to be a beautiful photo.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, they were sitting for a shot. They knew it was going. So all kinds of strange things like that, and we go, what? No, and nothing's Photoshop, nothing's fake, it's all real.
Exactly.
And so what I tell people, this is what happens. People have asked me, how often when you do these CE5 events do you see a craft or a being? I said, every single time.
Numerous.
Every time. And the reason for it is that they're very interested, they're eager, desperate, I'd even use the word, to find humans on Earth now that aren't brainwashed with the divisiveness of good and bad and war and all that, who are simply going to be pure-hearted, which, Justice is one of the most pure-hearted men I've ever known. Pat is one of the most pure-hearted. And that purity of heart and intent and clarity of consciousness and integrity is what they're interested in. They don't care if you're a billionaire. They don't care if you have an MD or a PhD or a construction worker or janitor. They care about your consciousness and your intent and your state of heart. You may want to speak to that also. The heart, yeah.
I throughout this, I basically had started meditating when I was 12, so I'm a long time meditator. But it really was not until I think maybe 4 years ago, when I started doing expeditions with you, that I started adding love to my meditations. I would just go into a meditation. I would fill my heart with love, which took me forever to figure out how to do that. You would think it would be simple. It is simple, but the world had made it complicated. And when you go in and you make that, you fill your heart with love, and then you start sending that out to the world. This is really, to me, honestly, we've talked about this dozens of times. This is possibly, to me, one of the most absolutely important things that the civilization on this planet really can do, is to meditate, to fill your heart with love, and then send that out and learn to love all other people. Because really, we talk about how much we love ETs and that we want to make that connection, but we really have to start on this planet. I mean, we actually have to learn to love each other here first, really. So that is, to me, that meditation, that higher states of consciousness that you get into with that, and the love connection, really, to me, is the most important. It is that way that you contact and communicate with these higher consciousness civilizations, because that's where they reside.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
It's beautiful, really.
Yeah, it is beautiful. And you want to talk about what you've been doing in near Dallas with training, doing things? Because to me, what Justice and Pat have been doing is what I'd like everyone to do. They learn how to do this. And in medicine, we have a saying, see one, do one, teach one. What does that mean? You see it done once, then you do it, and the next time you're teaching someone else to do it. So both of them have there are a lot of people doing that all over the world, but they're here in spite of the craziness of COVID. And they have really been doing an amazing job helping other people understand this. So tell me kind of what you guys do every month.
Well, thank you, Steve. Yeah, we have, we call it 𝗖𝗘𝗍.
A lot of people, they come from different walks of life, and we come together as a group. And when you have them set all their differences aside and we build that cohesion, it's absolutely amazing what happens. We'll have contact on the ground. It can be just scintillating lights, or we'll have crafts in the sky. And I've had video tapes of crafts that are approximately 2 miles, up to one that we measured about 13 miles big 2 months ago.
Yes.
Absolutely amazing.
Yep, massive. And that's, by the way, we're in Phoenix. I just realized. Oh my God. All right, I'm doing a lot. So I get kind of, someone says, you are in Phoenix. So there's a wonderful medical doctor here named Dr. 𝗬𝗃𝗍𝗃, who was going to be here, but because of COVID and her husband's health condition, she didn't want to do that. But as you know, she had a book about the Phoenix Lights. Speaking of 2 to 3 mile across objects, most people in Phoenix don't realize that in March of 1997, everybody knew about that event where this object came across the Arizona skies. That was a 𝗖𝗘𝗍. It's a close encounter of the fifth kind. And what happened to make, what time do I have? We have 5 minutes. Okay, I'll make this quick. So I was flying in that night to meet at a digital lab here with a picture editor from the BBC who was volunteering to put together the best photos and videos for me to give to members of Congress for the briefings we were doing for Congress in 1997 in April. And when I was on the flight, and we were on final approach to Sky Harbor Airport, and I went into meditation, and I did the 𝗖𝗍 protocols, and I asked the ETs to do something that would be unmistakable that we could take back and give to these members of Congress. We landed, I go to this lab, we're down in Tempe, near Tempe, and this retired general who was a spook, who was in this lab, comes running in at like 8:30 or something like that. It was at night. And he goes, "My God, the mothership is right over." So we go out and hear this huge thing. How many people saw that night? So I said, oh, well, they came. And so the world, no one knew that that was a 𝗖𝗘𝗍. But the reason that happened is that we had found out that the Clinton administration was not going to help. So we were pivoting to getting this information to members of Congress. And so I asked ETs to do something that would be dispositive and seen by a lot of people, and they did. So that's how that event happened in March of 1997. Don't really talk about it that often, but it's a wonderful. And Marcel, thank you for all the work you're
very
doing.
welcome.
in
And by the
Michigan.
way, anybody can do this.
Yeah.
With a pure heart,
Yeah.
anybody can
Anyone.
do contact.
Yeah. Oh,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
I'm not special. All of you can do it. Thank you all. We'll see you in the theater. Thank you.
I'm going to do the transition and then
All
see
right.
you
Thank
down
you.
there.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Greer. All right, soon we're going
Need
to
math.
cut to Dr. Steven Greer giving his pre-film presentation, and then that's going to be the end of the live stream for tonight. But I urge you to check out the movie on Amazon Prime and some of the other places you can see it, which is pretty much anywhere. So this is, in my opinion, his best film yet. It really delivers the goods. It's something everybody should see. And so enjoy the film. Enjoy Dr. Greer's presentation in the theater in about 10 minutes. And we are going to cut to the trailer and then a static plate while we change the cameras. And then we'll see you again back in the theater. Can you roll the trailer, please?
You're going to stay for the whole evening, right?
Probably.
Okay, buddy.
Yeah. Okay, so here's what we're doing.
There's clear sky and an object materializes, they're here. They have been waiting for an appropriate response for decades, and they have not received one until now.
We're doing the protocol. It lifts straight up right here, goes up, turns left, partially going in and out of space-time and vanishes.
All of their technologies are wired into consciousness and thought. Consciousness is a cosmic internet, and that's what we're doing. First, the expansion of consciousness in meditation. You can then see them, and then you can communicate with them.
Had one fully materialized flesh and blood who have appeared and then vanished. And I see this being come in.
You see that the empowerment of everyone in the audience to become an ambassador to those civilizations.
Welcome to my world.
So here's how society has answered the call so far.
We're going to have the Space Force. They're like goddamn right, Space Force.
If millions of people start doing this, an army of consciousness doing this, it'll overwhelm the covert systems. This is how disclosure will happen. It's time for the people to find the solution, and here it is, mass contact through consciousness. Citizens Diplomacy CE5. This is the ultimate disclosure event. Be part of history, be part of the change. It's a call to action.
and 𝗱𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗏, Jim Martin with 1091, who also helped produce and helped us do a lot of picture editing for this documentary, and in particular everyone who appeared in it, Daniel Sheehan and David Marconi, who were then in the state. They couldn't make it either. They're in California. And of course, they're not wanting people to go out. And most of all, I'd like to welcome all of you on behalf of Demi Lovato. She was going to be here. She's very disappointed she couldn't. She's an enormous supporter of what we're doing, and she wanted me to tell you that she's so excited to be part of this and be doing 𝗖𝗘𝗍 contact meditation with all of the people in the world that she can educate about this. And so we wanted to extend her hello to you, but she could not be here tonight for reasons I'm sure you're all aware if you watch the news. So I'd also like to thank the people who are on the staff here. If you see all the people who have the little badges, all of our people are volunteers. So a big round of applause to all of them. And, that includes, of course, Alara, who has sort of helped head this up, Adrian, who helped find this facility and get the ball rolling and bringing us here to Scottsdale. I'd like to thank Shane, who's picked out the music for tonight and the after party. And I'd like to thank the people on in the film who have appeared, had the courage, Justice and Pat and Raven and all the people who appeared in the field. They're all people who are on our 𝗖𝗘𝗍 teams around the world. And they were willing to go forward and speak the truth about this so that now the world knows. This documentary is #1 in the world on iTunes and Amazon this spring when it came out. And it's now on Amazon Prime as well as Unacknowledged. And I'm really excited that in the next month or two, it will be able to be on YouTube Movies and a lot of the other streaming platforms that don't require a subscription. So our goal is to get this message out to the maximum number of people so that we achieve that 1% effect that you're going to see in the film. And what that's that? It means that when about 1% of the population are coherent, meditating for a specific purpose, it changes the rest of the 99%. And that means that we don't need, it's not like a political campaign. It means that we can change the world with a relatively small number of people if we do it in the correct manner, with consciousness and meditation and purity of heart. What we were talking about during the red carpet outside. So that's the key thing for us to take away from this, is that people get very discouraged at a time of all the problems that the world is facing. But as bad as the problems are, the solution can happen very quickly. But it means we have to move in that direction. So this documentary is about 30 years of research and contact and the results that have occurred from people going forward to make contact with these civilizations as citizens of Earth. And that's what these extraterrestrial civilizations are waiting for. And it's true that we need to fix a lot of problems with our political leadership, whether it's in Washington or elsewhere. But the truth is that the ETs are asking that we, the people, reach out to them, and if we do, they'll respond. Now, they're going to respond in ways that may not be what you want. We all have our fixed ideas that an interstellar civilization needs to look like we do, except a 747 flying over, it's an ET craft. That's not how this works. Their reality is that their civilizations that go beyond the speed of light, that go from one star system to another, they have mastered the science of consciousness, as well as we've mastered picking up our phone and talking to each other using electromagnetic signals at the speed of light. So we're dealing with an entirely new paradigm where the operating system for all of these civilizations is based in the science of consciousness. which is why that's a major part of this film and a major part of the 𝗖𝗘𝗱 protocols and initiative. If you go to 𝗖𝗘𝗱 contact app, which is on all the stores now, you'll see that the main thrust of it, there's a lot of technical information, but the main thrust is the meditative state, the ability to go into consciousness and see remote places, and to become an ambassador to them by inviting them politely to come. So if we invite them politely to come, they will come. And I think that's one of the reasons why we have to do this within the context of universal peace. We like, as humans, to divide into camps and tribes and fight and argue. But these civilizations, if they've survived the nuclear threshold of technology, never mind the zero-point energy and high end of trans-dimensional physics that go beyond the speed of light, technology threshold, and they haven't blown themselves up. They've learned some lessons that we must learn urgently. And that is that our civilization, in order for it to go forward, will have to become a peaceful civilization on Earth and a peaceful civilization in space. I was just on the phone earlier this week with 𝗬𝗏 who, of course, was Wernher von Braun's spokesperson and worked with him in the last days of his life, and who was asked by Wernher von Braun, who invented the rocket for Adolf Hitler, as you know, to work on keeping space around the Earth free of weapons. And the reason for that is that he knew we weren't alone, and that these extraterrestrial civilizations were extremely concerned about us putting weapons in space, as well as our large weapons of mass destruction, atomic weapons, hydrogen bombs, and things of this sort. And part of that is because when we do something on that level of destruction, it isn't left in a linear space-time. The electromagnetic pulse goes beyond linear space-time and is destructive across the universe through these other dimensions. And that's something that most people don't realize. And that's why, in the 40s, there was such a massive response from extraterrestrial civilizations to the Earth as we began to play around unwisely with atomic and hydrogen bombs in the 50s. The hydrogen bomb was in the 50s. And that is a key thing for us to understand. We have not fixed that problem. So the way we fix it in terms of our relationship with these civilizations is that we don't keep piling on in terms of viewing their presence as a threat. As you all know, if you've seen the things we put out in the last 24 hours, I've been working with people very close to the administration in the White House, and also people who are very close to the Biden transition team, to try to get an understanding where this information can be disclosed, but within the context of a peaceful announcement and a hopeful announcement about the future. The bad news is that people directly involved with the administration have confirmed that the administration, A, knows that we're not alone, that the extraterrestrials are here, but unfortunately, B, have made the assessment that they are a threat to the national security, and they are proceeding afoot with that. So what we're trying to do is to turn the ship of state away from conflict, and an announcement on this issue that would be a million times worse than COVID. And that's what I've been working on. Those of you who know I've sort of vanished since August in a lot of ways, to try to get this problem resolved before January 20th, if in fact anything is acted upon. If it isn't acted on then we have to see what we can do with the president-elect, and we're working on that as well. Now the good news, which is really exciting, is that the Russian Federation and the Chinese and 120 other countries have agreed to keep all weapons out of space and to make peaceful contact. The issue is that they are not going to proceed without the United States, United Kingdom, and a few other countries also agreeing to do that. So it's all in the air, and that's what we're working on. In the meanwhile, we the people, each one of you, can form a contact team and an ambassador to these civilizations and show the face of humanity that is peaceful, that is enlightened, that is awake, that does not want endless war, and is willing to understand that the foundation of universal peace, peace on earth and peace out in space, is the fact that the field of consciousness, the spirit within us, is a singularity. And that state of consciousness is what all of us need to learn to access and utilize. The 𝗖𝗘𝗱 contact protocols are really about each person and then teams of people learning how to make contact peacefully and not listening to all the noise, the fear that's out there. Because fear kills the mind and it kills the heart, and it's the opposite of love. So if we can achieve that level of consciousness within ourselves and within those around us, you don't have to have a cast of thousands. You can go out with 3 or 4 people and make contact with these civilizations, and they will respond. You're going to see this. So many of the images I deliberately chose for this movie were events that happened, and I was there. Because one of the things that I loathe is people thinking that this can't happen with someone like me there. I used to talk to 𝗍𝗿𝗀, who is a well-known remote viewer with the intelligence community, about this, and you know, I say, look, every single person who's conscious can be aware of that consciousness, and then there they can go into unbounded mind, and they can see any place, know anything, one thing at a time. They can create all kinds of amazing events happen. We have a tendency to sort of delegate that to the Dalai Lama or a guru or a savant or what have you, and that's not correct. They've done studies with random number generators where they can take people off the street. And it turned out, Dr. Targ says this in the movie, it turns out that people, just ordinary people, would be just as accurate using consciousness to know or see something or affect a mechanical quantum generator like a random number generator as people who were the adepts, the people who were, you know, celebrated as the really high achievers in consciousness. And so I tell people that we all have this as a birthright, that each one of you have the ability to experience the aspect of yourself that is the universal aspect. We have our individualities, but there's an aspect of ourselves that's tied into this unbounded light. And that is what we're doing when we're going out and meditating and making contact. And the reason it works is that these civilizations that are interstellar, by definition, are transdimensional, meaning they go beyond the speed of light, and when they go past the light barrier, they're traversing other dimensions, all of which are increasingly involved with consciousness, thought, and thought realms, and thought energy. And that's why their technologies are interfacing directly with coherent thought. So what we're going to do in a moment is to do a 𝗖𝗘𝗱 contact meditation for just a few minutes with everyone here and with everyone online. And it's just going to sort of be a brief journey before the movie starts to sort of set the stage. And that's what we want to be able to do. Oh, she wants to play. Okay, can you do that?
I can't go the ball on your mic, maybe.
Maybe
on the mic.
Sure. Oh, this is Demi. Oh, she's so sweet.
Hey everyone, I'm so sorry that I couldn't be there with you tonight, but trust me when I say you're in for a real treat. I've been interested in UFOs for a while now, because the idea that we aren't alone in the universe is extremely fascinating to me. I met Dr. Greer for the first time this past summer, and I've had the opportunity to spend some time with him in Joshua Tree to experience the presence of extraterrestrials. We spent a few days off the grid together, staring into the night sky, watching alleged shooting stars, as he likes to call them, the planets and the Milky Way. We also meditated and took part in some amazing sound baths, all in the hopes of welcoming and experiencing an extraterrestrial presence. Throughout our time together, I've gained a deeper understanding and appreciation that we're truly not alone. As we sit and watch the film, keep an open mind and stay open to all possibilities. Oh, and enjoy the experience.
Thank you, Mimi. She's listening. Thank you very much. She's so sweet. So what I want to do is have everyone take a moment to center, and a lot of people watching at home who couldn't be here, including the director of the film, and Michael Mazzola, and my wife Emily, who, by the way, is the unsung heroine of all of this. You know, I'm an emergency doctor. She's the one who made all this possible. A lot of people don't know. She's very self-effacing, humble, does not want to be in the public. I won't permit it. It's bad enough that I am in the public. But, believe me. But she is the person who is the rock, the foundation of the Disclosure Project, the 𝗖𝗘 𝗱 initiative, everything. None of it would have happened without her. And the reason she's not here is because we just had our 10th grandchild. Scary, me being a grandfather. And she's helping our youngest daughter with the new baby. So he's a cute little guy, Declan. And so that's grandchild number 10. So it's a beautiful time. But this is the first one of these premieres that she couldn't attend. But she's with us in spirit. And watching out over the baby, which is the next generation. One of the things I want to say before I do this brief meditation is also say that a few years ago, maybe 3, I can't remember, I had this amazing experience because I do these protocols frequently and just sort of on the fly, and I'm in that state a lot, contacting these civilizations, and strange things happen all the time around my house and life. And one morning, wee hours in the morning, I wake up and there's an ET in my bedroom, and literally says, you need to do things to reach the younger generation. And since then, all these different people, like Demi Lovato, who's my children's age, are coming forward. So I want to say that, you know, it's not about ageism, even though I've become sort of, you know, I'm 65 now, and I've been doing this for 30 years since I was a young doctor. The future, the people who are coming along after those of us who are 60s, 70s, 80s, we really need to reach those folks, and that's why I'm so grateful to people like Demi and other folks like that who can reach, you know, tens of millions of people with this knowledge and get them interested and carry that torch forward into the future, because they're the ones who will inherit this planet and from us, because we're not all going to be here forever, right? And I'm very acutely aware of that. And I think, well, you know, I'm the age, my children are the age I was when I started this project. And now I have grandchildren that are in their teens. So I look at this and I think, well, you know, this is the progression as it should be. But we all have to come together in heart to heart, mind to mind, share this knowledge and spread the message of great hope. Because as you all remember, you'll see at the end of the film, Colonel Corso, who wrote the book, The Day After Roswell, he, you know, there's this wonderful story of him having this encounter with an ET at White Sands back in 1956. And he was this brash military colonel, and the ET was asking for their help at stopping the proliferation of these terrible weapon systems, but also the, quote, radar systems that were actually electronic warfare systems that were knocking down these ET craft. That's what Roswell was, as you know. And the ET, you know, and the ET was asking the colonel to help. And he said, "What's in it for me?" And the ET said, "A new world, if you can take it." That was 1956, 64 years ago. So what I say to people is that 2/3 of a century on, we need to accept the gift of a new world, new energy, new consciousness, a peaceful civilization on Earth and in space. And the good news is we can make that happen if we understand the power of meditation and consciousness and this 1% effect, where when 1% of the people begin to be coherent, it affects and changes the other 99% who don't even know you're doing it. That's the power of consciousness and of meditation and of prayer and of the higher states of awareness. And these civilizations know that. They're waiting for us to awaken to that and do it ourselves. This is our planet. They are here to assist and observe, but they're not going to do it for us. We have to do it. So this entire documentary and the movement that we're involved with is about creating a new world. And that world is ready to come into being. But it has to be by humans leading the way, each one of us. And that's what I hope we can do. So with that, I would like to start just a few minutes, and I want to tell everyone who's online or in the theater really how simple this is. You can spend an hour doing this protocol. I'm going to spend 5 minutes, because what I'm going to describe to you is this. You close your eyes, you become aware of the mind that is allowing you to be conscious, and you gently focus on that using either the breath, a mantra, prayer, whatever works for you. And you go into quiet mind. When you're in that quiet state of mind, you can intend to see, sense, know, feel remote places in space, anywhere, whether it's outside this auditorium or out in another galaxy. In that state, you can then perceive or sense an intelligent life form from another star system, and then you turn the process around and show them where you are. Kind of like Google Maps, where you zoom in. And that's really all it is. And you can do it, I do it within 30 seconds when I need to. And you can take an hour practicing the meditation. The idea is that once you learn this, the more you do it, the more proficient you become. And the more proficient you become, you can do it kind of on the fly. So you can be driving down the road, channel 1 is your consciousness, what you're aware of. You're looking at the road. But in your consciousness, you can also be remote viewing, as it were, using consciousness to see over the horizon. And to know what's up ahead on the road, but also to know what's up in space or under the ground, if it's an underground extraterrestrial facility. So you can do this very easily. It sounds very mystical and very strange when you first hear about it. But in reality, every single one of you have had some experience in your life where you have seen the future. You've had a lucid dream of what's going to happen. You've had an intuition about something that turned out to be completely true. And the reason for that is that the nature of the conscious mind is that it is always everywhere. It is never limited in space, and it's never limited in time. And because of that, the consciousness whereby you're hearing me right now is in fact a singularity that's omnipresent. We cut off the far horizon, but we don't have to. Meditation is about going within and connecting to that unbounded aspect of ourselves. And it's really a beautiful experience. So I want to just take a moment to do that, where we center and experience that state and invite these civilizations to join us before we start the movie. Everybody understand? Yeah? Good. All right, so let's close our eyes.